Ladies and gentlemen, dreamers and the devoted army worldwide, welcome to a broadcast that treads the fine line between vibrant fantasy and the inevitable, breathtaking reality. We know them as global icons, titans of the music industry, and artistic geniuses who have spent over a decade sharing every ounce of their blood, sweat, and tears with us. But there is one chapter left unwritten, one sacred ceremony that remains shrouded in total, impenetrable mystery: the wedding day. When you are the most famous men on the planet, privacy isn't just a luxury, it is a desperate necessity for survival. So, where do the seven kings go to pledge eternal love away from the blinding flash of dispatch cameras and the prying eyes of the world? We have deeply analyzed their distinct personalities, their architectural tastes, their travel diaries, and the most elite high-security venues across the United States to bring you this definitive, heart-pounding list. We are traveling from the rugged, wind-swept coasts of the Pacific to the hidden, aristocratic estates of the East Coast that scream old money and silence. Which member fits the vibe of a secluded Great Gatsby mansion? Who is secretly eyeing a spiritual, bohemian union in the middle of a silent desert? And what exactly is the location at number 2, a place so intensely private, it practically disappears from the map? This is more than a ranking. It is a psychological profile of romance, secrecy, and luxury. Are you prepared to witness the hidden sanctuaries that might one day host the wedding of the century? Fasten your seatbelts, take a deep breath, and let the ultimate secret be revealed. Number 7. J-Hope, Jung, Hoseok, and Oheka Castle, the Great Gatsby of the Gold Coast, New York. We kick off this list with an explosion of elegance, rhythm, and absolute grandeur that perfectly mirrors the dual nature of BTS's dance leader, Jung Hoseok. When we think of J-Hope, we think of sunshine, we think of vibrant colors, street fashion, and blinding smiles. But dig a little deeper into his psyche. Look at his solo work, Jack in the Box, or the classic aesthetics he appreciates in his outro ego visuals, and you realize that Hoseok has a profound respect for classic, timeless structure mixed with high-concept luxury. He isn't just a pop star, he is a man of sophisticated taste who appreciates the finer things in life, not for the price tag, but for the history and the vibe. Therefore, the perfect secret location for him is none other than the historic, majestic, and intimidatingly private Oheka Castle in Huntington, New York. Situated on the famed Gold Coast of Long Island, this isn't just a wedding venue. It is a fortress of French-style architecture that screams American royalty. Why is this the target? Because Oheka Castle is the real-life inspiration for J. Gatsby's estate in F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. And who better to embody the modern-day Gatsby, a man of charisma, parties, and deep hidden emotions than J-Hope. Imagine the narrative here. The castle sits on 443 acres of land, making it a geographical nightmare for paparazzi to penetrate. It is the second largest private home ever built in America, featuring 127 rooms and over 109,000 square feet of sheer opulence. For a member like Hobie, who values the performance of life, the entrance here is everything. Picture him arriving not in a standard limo, but perhaps a vintage Rolls-Royce, rolling up that crushed gravel driveway lined with perfectly manicured linden trees, creating a cinematic visual that rivals the Blood, Sweat, and Tears music video. The edutainment fact you need to know is that this castle was built by financier Otto Hermann Kahn in 1919 for a staggering $11 million, equivalent to over $150 million today, specifically to host the most lavish, wildest, yet most exclusive parties of the jazz age. This aligns terrifyingly well with J-Hope's ability to host a celebration that is both a raging party and a high-class art exhibition. The ceremony itself wouldn't be indoors. It would take place in the formal gardens, which are designed by the Olmsted brothers, the same visionaries who designed Central Park. Imagine the scene. The sun is setting over Long Island Sound, casting a golden hope world glow over the Versailles, inspired fountains, and there stands Hoseok trading his baggy streetwear for a sharp, custom-tailored Tom Ford suit, waiting at the end of an aisle that feels miles long. The privacy here is military grade. The castle operates its own security protocols that are used to hosting heads of state and music icons like Taylor Swift, who famously used this location for her Blank Space video. But for J-Hope, the appeal isn't just the luxury, it's the acoustics. The grand ballroom within the castle has acoustics designed for chamber music, meaning when the wedding singer performs or perhaps when Hobie himself takes the mic for a tearful speech, the sound is pure, unadulterated perfection. It's a venue that balances his public persona of energy with his private desire for structure and perfectionism. It is loud yet silent, public yet invisible, a paradox of stone and spirit, just like the man himself. This is where the street dancer from Gwangju cements his legacy as a global aristocrat of pop culture. Can you feel the bass kicking in the ballroom? Can you see the champagne towers? This is only number 7, and the bar has been set in the stratosphere. Number 6. Suga, Yoongi, and Amangiri, the silent sanctuary of stone and stars, Utah. If number 7 was about the loud, triumphant announcement of royalty, number 6 takes a sharp, drastic turn into the profound silence that defines the soul of Yoongi. We are leaving the crowded East Coast and flying deep into the heart of the American Southwest, to a place that looks less like a wedding venue and more like a minimalist temple built by an ancient civilization on Mars. For the man who once jokingly said he wanted to be a rock in his next life, we have found the only place on Earth that honors the spirit of the rock. Amangiri in Canyon Point, Utah. This is not just a resort, it is a spiritual experience, a pilgrimage of concrete and sandstone that blends so seamlessly into the 600 acres of protected wild desert that you can barely see it from the sky. Why is this the holy grail for Suga? Analyze the man. Yoongi is a producer, an architect of sound, someone who finds beauty in the raw, the unfinished, and the brutally honest. He doesn't want crystal chandeliers, he wants the raw texture of the universe. Amangiri, which translates to Mountain of Peace in Sanskrit, perfectly mirrors the aesthetic of his D-Day era rugged survivalist yet deeply healing. The architecture here is world-renowned. It was designed by Marwan Al-Sayed, Wendell Burnett, and Rick Joy, who created a structure using a concrete mixture that included the actual local sand, ensuring the building matches the geological age of the surrounding mesas. It is camouflage luxury at its finest. Imagine the security logistics, which is the edutainment angle you need to grasp. Amangiri is surrounded by the Grand Staircase, Escalante National Monument. There are no neighbors. There are no high-rises. If a paparazzi helicopter tries to approach, the sound would echo for miles before it could even get a lens on the property. It is the ultimate fortress of solitude. Now, visualize the ceremony. It's not in a hall. It's out in the open desert, at the Chinle site, a secluded alcove of rock where the acoustics are naturally amplified by the canyon walls, nature's own recording studio. The wind carries the vows. The lighting isn't artificial, it's the golden hour of the Utah desert, turning the rocks a deep, burning orange that matches the intensity of Dachwita. Yoongi, wearing a relaxed, earth-tone Valentino suit, no tie, breathable fabric stands against the backdrop of a 165-million-year-old rock formation. This location speaks to his love for whiskey and wood. Amangiri is famous for its open-air desert lounges with fire pits that look like floating sculptures. Picture the reception. A small, intimate gathering of only the closest family and members, sitting around a roaring fire under a sky so clear you can see the Milky Way with the naked eye. This appeals to Yoongi's philosophical side, his constant contemplation of the universe and our small place in it. The menu? Not banquet food, but high-end cuisine inspired by the Navajo heritage of the land, featuring sustainable, locally sourced ingredients cooked over open flames. It's primal, it's real, and it's devoid of the idle sparkle, replacing it with artist authenticity. The silence here is heavy. It's a presence in itself. For a man who has spent his life surrounded by the screaming of millions, the greatest luxury he can buy for his wedding is the sound of absolutely nothing but the crackling fire and the breathing of the person he loves. This isn't just a wedding location, it is a statement that says, I have conquered the noise and I have chosen peace. It is exclusive, with suites costing upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 a night, filtering out anyone who isn't serious about privacy. Amangiri is the physical embodiment of a Yoongi track, minimalistic production, heavy impact, and a lingering feeling that stays with you long after it's over. It is number 6 because it represents the ultimate escape, a place where the rap god lays down his armor and finally rests. Number 5. Jin, Kim Seokjin, and San Ysidro Ranch, the Hollywood Royal Retreat, Montecito, California. If the previous locations were about artistic grandeur and desert silence, Number 5 brings us face to face with the living embodiment of classic romance, tailored specifically for the man who calls himself and is globally recognized as worldwide handsome. Kim Seokjin is not just an idol, he is the standard of beauty. A man with an acting degree who carries himself with the easy, jovial confidence of a Disney prince who just happened to walk off the screen. For a man who balances a love for high-end luxury with a deep, unpretentious love for comfort, good food, and fishing, there is only one place in America that checks every single box: the legendary San Ysidro Ranch in Montecito, California. This isn't just a hotel, it is the holy grail of American privacy and old money prestige. Situated in the exclusive foothills of the Santa Ynez Mountains, looking down over the Pacific Ocean, this is the exact location where John F. Kennedy and Jackie Kennedy spent their honeymoon, and where Vivien Leigh, the icon of classic cinema, married Laurence Olivier. Do you see the connection? Jin, with his actor visuals and timeless aura, belongs in a setting that is steeped in the golden age of Hollywood history. The edutainment factor here is staggering. San Ysidro Ranch is consistently voted the #1 resort in America, yet you've probably never seen photos of the inside from a tabloid. Why? Because the security in Montecito is a different breed. This is the neighborhood of Oprah Winfrey, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. It is a community that aggressively protects its own, making it a no-fly zone for paparazzi drones and a black hole for information leaks. Now, visualize Seokjin's arrival. He doesn't arrive by helicopter, he drives a convertible up the winding eucalyptus-lined driveway, the smell of lavender and rosemary filling the air. The ranch sits on 550 acres of land but only hosts 41 intimate vine-covered cottages, ensuring that the wedding party would essentially own the entire property. This appeals to Jin's introvert side, the side of him that loves gaming in his room and cherishes his personal space. Each cottage is a standalone home with Persian rugs, stone fireplaces, and outdoor rainfall showers, providing the home-away-from-home comfort he values so much. But let's talk about the ceremony itself, because this is where the worldwide handsome visual reaches its peak. The wedding would take place on the upper estate lawn, a manicured stretch of green that offers a 180-degree view of the Channel Islands and the sparkling Pacific Ocean. Imagine Jin standing under a literal archway of ancient white roses and magnolias, the ocean breeze gently messing up his hair just enough to make it look editorial. He's not wearing a stiff tuxedo, he's in a soft cream-colored Tom Ford dinner jacket that complements the warm California sun. The backdrop isn't a wall, it's the horizon where the sky meets the sea, a nod to his love for super tuna and the ocean, but elevated to supreme elegance. And we cannot discuss Jin without discussing the most important element, the food. San Ysidro Ranch is home to the Stone House, a restaurant located in a 19th-century citrus packing house. The culinary team here harvests herbs and vegetables directly from the on-site organic chef's garden. For a foodie like Jin, who ran his own Eat Jin series, the wedding menu would be a non-negotiable masterpiece. We are talking about a fusion of Korean royal court cuisine and Californian farm-to-table freshness, lobster from the local coast, which he might have jokingly tried to catch himself earlier that morning, paired with the finest wines from the Santa Ynez Valley. The atmosphere is not a rave, it's a sophisticated garden party under the stars, with strings of fairy lights wrapped around the 100-year-old olive trees. It's a place where he can tell his dad jokes to a laughing crowd of A-list celebrities and family members, holding a glass of wine, feeling like the lord of the manor. This location captures the duality of Jin, the serious, responsible eldest brother who demands the best, and the playful, relaxed soul who just wants to enjoy the breeze and a good meal. San Ysidro Ranch offers a quiet luxury that doesn't scream for attention because it already knows it's the best, just like Seokjin knows he's the best without having to try. It is a venue of legends for a legend. This is number 5, and we are witnessing the marriage of history and K-pop royalty. Number 4. Jungkook, Jungkook, and Haiku Mill, the enchanted jungle ruins, Maui, Hawaii. We have reached the golden maknae, the man who does everything with 100% intensity, the artist who thrives on passion, raw emotion, and a touch of the mystical. For Jungkook, a standard ballroom or a modern hotel is out of the question. This is the man who tattooed his arm with symbols of his love, who directs his own deeply atmospheric GCF films, and who possesses a romantic soul that is wild, free, and deeply connected to nature. He needs a location that feels like a fairy tale, forgotten by time, a place where the jungle has reclaimed the stone, creating a secret garden just for him. There is only one place on Earth that captures this euphoria, the breathtaking Haiku Mill in Maui, Hawaii. This is not just a venue, it is a living, breathing piece of art, an abandoned sugar mill from 1860 that has been lovingly restored into a botanical cathedral without a roof. Why is this perfect for JK? Because it perfectly blends the rugged industrial texture of the old stone walls with the lush, overflowing life of the tropics. It looks exactly like the set of a fantasy movie or a high-concept BTS music video. It is on meets life goes on. The edutainment angle here is fascinating. Haiku Mill is often called the castle in the jungle, but unlike European castles, this one feels alive. The walls are covered in vines, jasmine, and passion fruit flowers. The ceiling is the open sky, framed by a massive glass roof that allows the rain to fall around the perimeter while keeping the guests dry, a literal rain effect that Jungkook would absolutely obsess over for the cinematic visuals. The privacy is absolute. Tucked away on Maui's north shore, surrounded by dense rainforest, it is invisible to the casual tourist. Now, close your eyes and picture the scene. The ceremony doesn't happen in the daylight. It happens at twilight, the magic shop hour. The entire mill is lit not by electric floodlights, but by hundreds of hanging crystal chandeliers and thousands of candles flickering against the wet stone walls. The air is thick with the scent of plumeria and ginger. Jungkook isn't standing at a traditional altar. He's standing on a stone staircase that looks like it leads to another dimension. He's wearing a modern, deconstructed suit, maybe a dark velvet that absorbs the candlelight, abandoning the tie for a look that is effortlessly cool and intense. The acoustics here are hauntingly beautiful. Imagine him singing a raw acoustic version of Still With You as his vows, his voice bouncing off the ancient sugar mill stones, creating a natural reverb that no studio could replicate. And here's the kicker for a thrill-seeker like JK. Maui allows for the ultimate GCF adventure before and after the wedding. We're talking cliff diving, ATVs through the jungle, and midnight swims in the ocean. The reception is a sensory overload of tropical fruits, Hawaiian fire dancers, and a sound system that makes the jungle floor vibrate. It's a place where he can be the main character of his own fantasy novel. Haiku Mill is intimate, holding only a select number of guests, which suits Jungkook's desire to keep his circle tight and his emotions authentic. It is a place of ruin and rebirth, structure and chaos, perfectly mirroring the complex, beautiful, and endlessly talented spirit of the youngest member. It feels like a secret discovered just for him. This is number 4, and the magic is undeniable. Number 3. V. Kim Taehyung and Hearst Castle, the vintage cinematic utopia, San Simeon, California. We are now entering the territory of pure, unadulterated artistic fantasy, a realm that belongs to the man who looks like he stepped out of a Renaissance painting and into a black and white French film. Kim Taehyung, our V, is a soul who vibrates on a different frequency, a lover of jazz, of Chet Baker, of Van Gogh, and of a vintage aesthetic that is both melancholic and incredibly expensive. He doesn't just want a wedding, he wants a mise en scène, a living movie set where every glance and every shadow tells a story. For a global superstar with the aura of a 1920s aristocrat, a standard hotel ballroom is an insult. He needs a place that matches his eccentric, grandiose, and deeply romantic spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, the only venue in the United States that can contain the singularity of V is the legendary, the over-the-top, the architectural marvel known as Hearst Castle in San Simeon, California. This is not merely a house, it is a La Cuesta Encantada, the Enchanted Hill, a palace built by newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst over the course of 28 years because he simply refused to stop dreaming. Does that remind you of anyone? This aligns perfectly with Taehyung's artistic perfectionism. Situated on a hilltop overlooking the Pacific Ocean, roughly halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco, this location is a logistical fortress. There is only one road up, meaning privacy is absolute. No telephoto lens can reach the castle from the highway 5 miles below. The edutainment deep dive here is staggering. The castle contains 165 rooms and 127 acres of gardens, terraces, and pools, filled with actual ceilings, fireplaces, and tapestries ripped out of European castles and shipped to California. It is a museum of memories, just like V is a collector of moments. Now, picture the visual. The ceremony taking place at the world-famous Neptune pool. This isn't a swimming pool. It is a Roman temple filled with 345,000 gallons of spring water, surrounded by ancient colonnades and statues that date back to the Roman Empire. Imagine the sun dipping below the Pacific horizon, painting the white marble in shades of purple and gold, the colors of Borahé. Taehyung stands there, not in a modern tux, but in a bespoke, vintage-inspired three-piece suit, perhaps brown or deep burgundy, channeling his winter bear aesthetic with a live jazz orchestra playing a slow, sultry version of slow dancing on the terrace. The acoustics of the outdoor theater are designed for unamplified voice, allowing his deep, baritone soul voice to wrap around the guests like a warm blanket. The reception would move indoors to the refectory, the main dining hall, which is lined with silk flags and looks like the Great Hall from Harry Potter, but with more class. The table setting? Antique silver, crystal goblets, and candlelight, so dim and romantic it feels like a secret society meeting. V loves the classic vibe, the feeling of being out of time, and Hearst Castle is a place where it is eternally 1928. It hosted Charlie Chaplin, Clark Gable, and Winston Churchill. Now, it hosts the Prince of Daegu. The menu would be eclectic, sophisticated, and perhaps feature a high-end strawberry farm selection, nodding to his love for strawberries, served alongside vintage wines that are older than the guests. This venue captures the duality of V, the playful, eccentric boy who loves to run around, and the deep, soulful artist who carries the weight of nostalgia. It is grand, it is slightly strange, it is breathtakingly beautiful, and it is the only place on American soil that feels like a dream sequence. Number 3 is where reality ends, and the movie begins. Number 2. RM, Kim Namjoon, and The Point, the Rockefeller's Secret Forbidden Forest, Saranac Lake, New York. We have arrived at the penultimate position, the runner-up on our journey through the hidden romantic sanctuaries of the United States, and the atmosphere has shifted dramatically. If the previous locations were about grandeur, Hollywood history, or tropical fantasy, number 2 is about something far more profound. Something that touches the very core of what it means to be human, to be a leader, and to be alone with your thoughts. This location is so private, so aggressively secluded, that for decades it didn't even appear on public maps. It is the perfect spiritual mirror for the leader of BTS, Kim Namjoon RM. We know him as the philosophical giant, the art enthusiast who coined the term Namjooning, the man who seeks solace in the whisper of trees and the silence of museums. He is a global icon who carries the weight of the world on his shoulders, and when he finally decides to pledge his eternal love, he won't do it in a ballroom. He will do it in a cathedral of nature, a place where history, art, and the wilderness collide in perfect harmony. Ladies and gentlemen, the only place in America worthy of RM's intellect and soul is The Point in Saranac Lake, nestled deep within the Adirondack Mountains of upstate New York. This is not a hotel, it is a time capsule. Originally built by William Avery Rockefeller II as his private great camp during the Gilded Age, this estate was designed to be the ultimate escape for the richest family in American history, to rough it in absolute luxury. It is the birthplace of the Adirondack style, massive log mansions built from local timber and stone, blending seamlessly into the forest as if they grew there naturally. This appeals directly to Namjoon's indigo aesthetic, the love for the organic, the wooden, the timeless. The edutainment deep dive into the privacy logistics here is terrifyingly impressive. The Point has no street signage. You cannot find it unless you are given the coordinates. It sits at the end of a long, winding, unpaved road that discourages casual drivers. And once you pass the final gate, you are in a different world. There is practically no cell phone service, a feature that Namjoon, a man constantly plugged into the digital chaos of the music industry, would view as the ultimate luxury. It is a forced digital detox for every guest, ensuring that no photos are leaked, no tweets are sent, and the moment remains purely in the present. The estate comprises only 11 guest rooms spread across 4 log buildings on 75 acres of peninsula jutting into Upper Saranac Lake. This means RM would buy out the entire property, turning it into a private fortress where his wedding party creates a temporary utopian village. Imagine the visual of the ceremony. It takes place at the Boathouse, a cavernous open-air structure filled with vintage canoes and the scent of aged cedar and fresh pine needles. The backdrop is the glassy, mirror-like surface of the lake, reflecting the towering white pines and the gray, cloudy sky that Namjoon loves so much. There are no flashy decorations. Nature is the decoration. He stands there, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a custom-designed suit by Bode or Visvim brands that focus on heritage and craftsmanship made of sustainable, earthy fabrics like linen or wool, perhaps in a deep charcoal or forest green. The atmosphere is thick with intellect and emotion. The acoustics of the lake carry the sound of his vows, poetic, philosophical, likely written in the style of a beautifully complex letter across the water, accompanied only by the call of a loon or the rustle of the wind in the trees. This is a wedding for the Moonchild. The reception is where the Rockefeller history truly shines. Dinner is served in the Great Hall, a massive room with walk-in stone fireplaces that are kept roaring 24/7. The tables are set with silver and crystal that date back to the Rockefeller era, and the walls are adorned with actual fine art, turning the venue into the private gallery RM has always dreamed of owning. The culinary experience here is legendary. It is a black tie in the woods affair. Guests, including the members, would change from their ceremony attire into formal tuxedos, creating a surreal contrast between the rugged wilderness outside and the high society elegance inside. They would dine on venison, trout caught from the lake, and seasonal foraged mushrooms, paired with a wine list that rivals the best sellers in France. But the most Namjoon element of this location is the library. The point captures the essence of a scholar's retreat. After the dinner, imagine RM and his spouse retreating to a private corner by the fire, surrounded by leather-bound first editions, discussing art and life while the snow begins to fall outside, because a winter wedding here would be pure magic. It is a place that respects silence. It is a place that demands you slow down. For the leader who has spent his 20 seconds running at full speed, leading the charge for K-pop's global domination, the point offers the one thing money usually can't buy: stillness. It is the physical manifestation of his solo album Indigo, a record of his 20 seconds, a documentation of his humanity. Here, amongst the century-old trees and the ghosts of American tycoons, Kim Namjoon isn't an idol. He is just a man in love with the world, and one person in it. This is number 2. A location so private it feels like a secret kept by the forest itself. Number 1. Jimin, Park Jimin, and the Biltmore Estate, the American Versailles of eternal romance, North Carolina. We have reached the summit, the absolute zenith of our journey, the final destination that defines the very concept of the wedding of the century. We have traversed the deserts of Utah, the coasts of California, the jungles of Hawaii, and the forests of New York. But for the number 1 spot, for the man who is affectionately known to the world as the Prince of Busan, we needed a location that transcends luxury and enters the realm of pure, unadulterated fairy tale. Park Jimin is not just a member of BTS, he is the embodiment of grace, the master of serendipity, an artist who moves with the fluidity of water and the precision of a blade. He is the member who comforts others, the angel of the group, yet he possesses a lethal, captivating charisma that commands the attention of millions. When we profiled Jimin's psychological need for romance, his appreciation for dramatic, sweeping aesthetics, and his desire to create moments that are visually perfect, we realized that no hotel, no resort, and no modern mansion could ever be enough. He requires a palace. He requires a legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, the only location in the United States that can match the ethereal, royal energy of Park Jimin is the largest privately owned home in American history. The majestic, the awe-inspiring, the impossible Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina. This is not a venue, it is an American kingdom. To understand why this is the inevitable choice for Jimin, you must first understand the staggering scale of the Biltmore. The edutainment facts here are mind-blowing. Built by George Washington Vanderbilt II between 1889 and 1895, this French Renaissance chateau boasts 250 rooms, 35 bedrooms, 43 bathrooms, and 65 fireplaces. spread over a jaw-dropping 175,000 square feet of floor space. It was designed by Richard Morris Hunt, the architect of the Statue of Liberty's pedestal, and the grounds were landscaped by Frederick Law Olmsted, the father of American landscape architecture who designed Central Park. It is a masterpiece of Gilded Age ambition. A place built by a man who wanted to bring the grandeur of European royalty to the Blue Ridge Mountains. Does this not perfectly mirror the trajectory of Jimin? A boy from Busan who conquered the world, bringing the elegance of contemporary dance and the power of K-pop to the global stage? The Biltmore is the physical manifestation of blood, sweat, and tears. It is opulent, intricate, and steeped in a history of perfectionism. Let's talk about privacy, because you might be thinking, isn't the Biltmore a tourist attraction? Yes, but here is the secret. The estate sits on 8,000 acres of land. When you rent the Biltmore for a wedding of this magnitude, you don't just rent a room, you secure the perimeter. The topography of the Blue Ridge Mountains acts as a natural fortress. Security teams can lock down the main gate, which is miles away from the house itself, ensuring that the only people who get within breathing distance of the ceremony are the people invited. The paparazzi would need a satellite from NASA to get a clear shot. This appeals to Jimin's protective nature. He guards his private life fiercely, and this location offers him the ability to be a prince without the intrusion of the public eye. Now, visualize the ceremony. It doesn't take place indoors. It takes place on the front lawn at sunset. Imagine the scene. The sun is dipping behind the rolling peaks of the Blue Ridge Mountains, casting a purple haze over the landscape, a natural Bora-high phenomenon that feels like a sign from the universe. The chateau rises in the background, its limestone facade glowing gold in the twilight, looking like the castle from Time's Beauty and the Beast, Time's Cinderella asterisk. Jimin creates a visual poetry that no other idol can replicate. He stands at the altar, framed by towering arches of white wisteria and lilies, the symbol of purity and refined beauty. He isn't wearing a standard tuxedo. He is wearing a custom-designed, structured ensemble by Dior or Saint Laurent, brands he has represented with global impact. The fabric is soft, fluid, moving with the wind, perhaps with subtle embroidery that catches the last rays of the sun. His hair is styled in that signature soft, swept-back look, his eyes shimmering with the emotional intensity we see in Promise. The music is not a DJ. It is a full, 40-piece symphony orchestra positioned on the lawn, playing a sweeping, orchestral arrangement of Letter or Filter, turning his own discography into a classical masterpiece. The acoustics of the open mountain air carry the music up toward the heavens, creating a moment of serendipity where the world seems to stop spinning. The reception moves into the grand banquet hall. This room is the heart of the legend. The ceiling soars 70 feet high, a triple fireplace spans one wall, and the room is draped in 16th century Flemish tapestries. This is where the Vanderbilts hosted the elite of the 19th century, and now it hosts the kings of the 21st century. The dining table is a single, massive stretch of oak that can seat 64 guests, meaning the BTS members and their closest family would all sit together at one long, regal table, just like in a movie. The atmosphere is candlelit, intimate yet grandiose. For the menu, the Biltmore's culinary team, which manages a working farm on the estate, would prepare a feast fit for royalty. We are talking about estate-raised beef, mountain trout, and vegetables harvested that morning, paired with vintage wines from the Biltmore's own winery, which is the most visited winery in the United States. Jimin, who appreciates good food and wine, often seen enjoying calm, late-night meals on live streams, would curate a menu that balances sophisticated French techniques with comforting Korean flavors, perhaps a galbi jjajim prepared with a French reduction sauce. A fusion of his two worlds, but the true magic of the Biltmore lies in its hidden corners, the places where Jimin and his spouse can escape the grandeur for a moment of intimacy. There is the Winter Garden, a glass-domed indoor jungle filled with exotic palms and ferns, where they can share a quiet dance under the stars without stepping outside. There is the library, with its 10,000 volumes and a painted ceiling called the Chariot of Aurora, representing the dawn, a perfect metaphor for a new beginning. And then there is the emotional weight of the night. Jimin is the member who feels things deeply, who cries when he is overwhelmed with gratitude. Standing on the loggia, looking out over the endless darkness of the mountains, holding a glass of champagne, surrounded by his 6 brothers who have become his blood, he would feel the magnitude of the journey. The Biltmore was built to be a home that would last for centuries, a monument to legacy. Jimin's career, his art, and his love are built with the same intention. This isn't just a wedding location, it is a declaration that his story, like this stone castle, is timeless. The evening would conclude with a fireworks display over the estate, illuminating the gargoyles and spires of the roof, reflecting in the Italian garden pools below. It is a finale that matches the explosive energy of a BTS concert but is reserved solely for the people who truly know Park Jimin, the man behind the idol. It is number 1 because it is the only place that offers the scale, the history, the beauty, and the privacy required for a global icon who deserves nothing less than a fairy tale. It is the American Versailles. It is the dream made real. And it is the ultimate secret wedding destination for the Prince of K-pop.